Okay, to access the score tracker, go to strategyprep.com. In the top right corner, you'll see student login. Click on that. If you already have an account, you can just log in right here. If not, go ahead and click on register for free and then fill out your information here and then register. Okay, go back here because I already have an account. I'm going to sign in. I'm then going to click on score tracker, which is the first option here. That will then take me to the score tracker. I don't have any tests in here yet, but let's go ahead and add a test. Today we took test 62, so I'm going to scroll down here to test 62, which is the December 2010 LSAT. And we will see a answer key. This answer key has the 4 graded or official sections from test 62. So if you took an experimental section today, just ignore that entirely. We are not going to put the experimental section into the score tracker. So let's go ahead and put in the 4 official sections. The first section was a reading comp section, at least in test 62. So I would go ahead and start putting in my answers. So let's say I chose A for the first one, C for the second one, C for the third one. Because this is red, that means I got this question wrong. I don't know what the right answer is, but let's just say, okay, so if you see red, you know you got it wrong. And then we have, let's say I keep going, I choose B, I choose B, I choose C, oh, another wrong answer, and so on. So you just go ahead and fill that all the way down, and that will start, recording your answers. I'm going to cheat a little bit here to save some time. I'm going to click on the Fill Correct Answers button, and that's going to fill in all of the answers as if I had gotten them correct. If this happens to you, congratulations, you're done. Let's see here. Let's talk about what would happen. Well, first of all, let me make this a little bit more realistic. Let's say I got 8 wrong, 15, 18, whatever. I'm just clicking some random ones to make this more realistic. Okay, so let's say that let's go to section 3 actually. Section 3 is the games. Let's say that as I was doing the game section, I didn't get to the last game or the last 5 questions. And I ran out of time, but in the last second, I filled in answer choice C all the way down. That would be, actually let's go with D. Couldn't make that decision on the test, but let's just go with D or A. Yeah, let's go with A. Sorry, I'm playing with this. You have to put in whatever you actually put in on the test, but let's just say that I went ahead and put A all the way down. Well, I guessed on those, and it turns out I got kind of lucky on this, but I did that on purpose so I can explain what's going on here. But for the questions that I didn't have time to get to at all, I'm going to go ahead and mark those with T. The T tells the score tracker that I didn't even attempt these questions, so don't include them in my accuracy results. It'd be a little misleading. It'd be like, hey, you suck at this certain question type. Well, not really. If I had time to get to them, I might have done well. It also tells the score tracker to take questions 21 and 22 out of the adjusted score because in reality I got lucky, right? Like the score tracker is going to tell you, it's going to tell me what I got on this test officially, or what I would have gotten on this test officially had I done all of this bubbling. If I had chose A for the last 5 answer choices in this 3rd section. But in addition to what I would have gotten officially, I want to know what I would have gotten had I not been so lucky. And I also want to know how I'm doing on the different question types in the test, ignoring the ones I just randomly guessed on, because it's not like I really did well or badly on those questions. So you need to mark the ones that you didn't have any time to get to with T, and you want to fill in the answer choice that you actually chose so that you can see what you would have gotten on the official test, like your official score. Okay, So let's say that I didn't get to these either, and I just randomly guessed. Maybe, let's see, where's reading? Oh yeah, here's reading comp. Let's say that in reality, I decided to entirely skip the second passage or some of the second passage, and I just ended up guessing on these 4 questions, right? You can mark those as well. But you don't want to mark them if you actually had time to attempt the questions. It's just that it's just for those questions you just never had a chance to look at them at all. Granted, if you looked at it and decided right away not to do it, that's fine. You just really don't want to invest time and then say, oh, I gave up and went on. Well, you gave up probably because that question was hard, so you should not mark it as T. This is really for the ones you just didn't have any time to get to. Okay, so now my answer key is all filled out. I have my questions marked that I didn't get to, and I click View Results. We come in here, we see we have test 62. We're in the overview page. My official score is a 164. So this is what LSAC would give me at the end of the day, but my adjusted score, which is always going to be a little bit lower if I guessed on some questions or didn't have time to get to some questions, is always going to be a little bit lower because it's going to remove the lucky guesses, right? The ones that I got lucky on. Let's take a look here. So for example, down here, I guessed A on question 21 and A on 22, and I got that right. I didn't really get those right because I just completely guessed on them. And so on test day, I might not be so lucky, right? If on test day I had chosen B instead, I would have only gotten 1 answer correct instead of 2. If I had chosen E instead, or C, then I would have gotten none of them right. And so that would bring down my official score closer in line with my adjusted score. Basically, the adjusted score gets rid of all the lucky guesses. Now let's go back here and assume that I was lucky. Okay, so my official score would be higher, be 164 instead of a 163. The adjusted score says, hey, let's get rid of all those lucky guesses and just see what you would have gotten purely based on the questions you had time to answer, so that you can get a better sense of what you're likely to get on the official test. All right, so first section was reading, 6 wrong. Second section, reasoning, which is logical reasoning, 5 wrong. Game, 6 wrong. Reasoning, 6 wrong. We have 2 numbers here. We have the official score, which is the raw score, got 21 out of 27. But in terms of accuracy, I got 20 out of 23. And these are the numbers I'm actually more concerned about for most people. I want to make sure that your accuracy is high before you start pushing forward in an attempt to finish the section. Let's see here. Like for example, in the reasoning section, right? I got 21 out of 23. So of the questions I actually attempted, this excludes the ones that we marked with T, I did pretty well. So this suggests that I can probably start trying to do more questions. I'm not going too fast. Whereas let's take a look at this one. See, this one I didn't guess on any, apparently, because I got 20 out of 26 officially, and I got 20 out of 26 in terms of accuracy. In other words, there were no questions that I marked with T, and so my accuracy rate is pretty low for this section, suggesting that I'm going a little too fast. You want to slow down, get the questions that you're doing right, and then speed up. So once you start getting up around 90% or higher, that suggests, hey, I can start going faster and trying to do more questions. Okay, now let's go to the priority page. Priority page is going to list all the questions that I missed. And here's the section and the question. So section 1, question whatever. And here's an opportunity for me to try to do this question again, right? It doesn't show what answer I chose. I can try to do it again. Let's say I tried to do question 8 again, and I chose B. Ugh, I still got it wrong. Let's find the right answer. There it is, D. Second time around, I got it right. Yay. Okay, good. Let's say I got it right, but I still have questions about it, or I still want to review it again later because I feel like, hey, this makes sense to me, but I want to remind myself of what I learned. I'd go ahead and mark this for review. So you don't have to mark every question for review, but I would definitely mark questions for review that you feel like taught you something. Looking at these questions, wow, I missed some very difficult ones, which is actually a good sign. Here is a really easy one. I missed question 3, which is a difficulty 1. Okay, well, that means not very many people missed it. If it's a difficulty 4 or 5, that means a lot of people are missing it. So a lot of these are okay, but I want to start with the ones where the difficulty level is low, because I should have gotten this one right. So I try to do this question again. Let's say I chose D. Got it wrong again. Let's find the right answer. Oh, yay, got it right. And then I can come in here, and if it's highlighted in blue, I can mark it for review. I mean, sorry, not mark it for, look at the explanation. So here's an explanation. Not all of these are explained, as you can see. Some of them haven't been talked about in class or whatever. But start with the ones that have the lowest difficulty level. So then here's the next one I'd want to look at, and figure those out, and then slowly work your way up to the hardest ones, difficulty 5s. Here are the questions that I skipped, never even attempted. So these ones, the difficulty level is not listed because you don't really want to know anything about this question. You want to just give it a shot, see if you can get it right now, now that you have a little more time, and then go ahead again, mark the ones for review that you want to review. If something doesn't make sense, just click on the blue link and check out the explanation. A lot of these are written explanations, but some of them are video explanations as well from class. Alright, so after I go ahead and work through those, I can come in and look at the breakdown for the different sections. So the games section is always listed first here, even though it was section 3 on the actual test. It's telling us that the first game was an ordering game. It was medium difficulty. Second game was a grouping game. This is a really tough game, by the way, the Windows game. And then the third game is also even harder. So you can see how you're doing on the games and how hard they are. This last game was pretty easy, and according to this, I did really badly. So definitely something to look at. Oh, actually, you know what? I didn't even get to this question. Accuracy is 0 out of 0, so I didn't even attempt it. That's why I did so badly. So that's okay. It's not a big deal. Just need to work on it. Here you can again come click on the link and get a video explanation for this game. Watch the video explanation, try to do the game again on your own. Here are the different question types. Again, the difficulty level, you can mark some for review. Here's the answer that you chose as well as the right answer. If it's highlighted in blue, again, you can watch the explanation. For here, this is for the whole game, and this is like for the individual question within the game. So this would be like question 11 for game 2. So it should just jump right to that. Let's go back. Okay. Here you have the question types, right? So like question 23 is a partial scenario question. And so if you come here, you can see, oh, there were 5 partial scenario questions in this section, and I got 3 of them right. In terms of accuracy, I only attempted 3 of them, and I got 2 of them right. So, okay, good to know. These are always ordered from the most common question type down to the least common question type. So you can see there was 11 new rule questions. So these are a pretty high priority. So you want to start at the top and make sure you're doing well on these kinds of questions because they are the most common. Okay, so then reading comp. It's a little more details here because there's more going on. We have the kind of passage it was. We have whether it was a single passage or a comparative passage, the difficulty level, how many got wrong, again, your official score, and then your adjusted score based on the questions you marked with T. Here again, oh yeah, we have question type, but notice we also have structure and inference, and then we have main point and supported. This first column is the group that this question type falls into. Is it a structure question or an inference question? And then this is the very specific type of structure question that it is. So this is a structure question, and it's specifically the main point question. There are different kinds of questions within structure and inference and whatnot, and you can come down here and they've been organized. So all the inference questions There are 4 different types. There's supported, agree, stated, tone, whatever. Those, you can see how you're doing on inference questions in general, and then specifically how you're doing within these questions. This is also organized from the most common question type down to the least common. So you really want to focus on these top ones first because they are so common. Say, oh, how am I doing on supported questions? How am I doing on agree questions? There's a lot of them. How am I doing on purpose questions? How am I doing on organization questions? Oh, there's not that many organization questions, only 2. But anyways, lots of data in here. This number right here tells you the average difficulty for these 8 supported questions. So there was a lot of these questions, and they were on average pretty tough. The fact that, at least in this mock exam that I took, that I got 7 out of 8 is pretty good. Okay, so then we go into reasoning. Reasoning is pretty similar to reading comp in the sense that we have different groups of questions and then the specific type within that group. Here you have inference, and then you have specifically the supported question within that. Here, logical reasoning can't be broken down into like 4 passages or 4 games. So you just have the entire section and the entire section. Most sections have an average difficulty of 3. If you took all the questions in the section and averaged their difficulty, it'd be around 3, right? You have some easy ones, you have some hard ones, but the average difficulty for section 2 and section 4 was 4. So these were 2 pretty hard logical reasoning sections. I've never seen a difficulty 5 or a difficulty 1, because that would just be crazy. If you averaged all the questions together in that section, the average is going to be around 2, 3, or 4. But in any case, yeah. So these were 2 hard logical reasoning sections. If they went well for you, congratulations. Again, you want to look down this list, see the ones you got wrong, focusing on the ones that are easy. For example, question 26 here was an easy one, although I got it wrong because I never even got to it, right? So whatever. Now let's see here. Come on down, come on down. We have the question types. Again, you have the problem question types, which make up the vast majority of logical reasoning. As you can see, there were 32 of them in the 2 sections combined. And then these are also organized by how common they are. So strengthen questions were super common. There was 11 of them. You want to make sure you're doing well on those. There was a lot of flaw questions and so on. As you come down this list, you see there's not so many structure questions. There's not that many matching questions. So these become less and less important. Although, of course, if you're doing well on these, then you got to start going down the list and focusing on stuff down here. Again, I would focus on these numbers. Here, necessary assumption, accuracy rate was pretty low, only 50% correct. So that's something to be concerned about. But as you can see, there weren't that many necessary assumption questions compared to strengthen questions. So missed 3 here, only missed 2 here, because they're just not that common. So yeah, in general, you want to kind of work down the list and make sure you're working on the most common question types first and trying to understand those and make sense of that. Let's see here. So let's say that I looked at the question 10 and I was like, yeah, this makes sense, but I want to review it again later. I'd mark it for review, and it's going to show up here on the review page. So we have 2 questions that we've marked for review. I can make notes about them, like watch out for the word all or whatever, and then I can come back and review that again later. If I go to my test overview page, you'll see test 62 when I took it. You'll see the official score, adjusted score, and oh, I have a question for review. Actually, there's 2 in review, so let's refresh this. 2, yep, there we go. So there's 2 questions for review. If I come back in a couple weeks and I review this question again, section 1, question 8, I'm like, oh yeah, watch out for the word all. That was super helpful. This totally makes sense to me now. I can mark it as done, and now it will no longer appear. I gotta refresh. It will no longer appear on this home page. Super slow. Let's go. There we go. See, it says review 1. It's because I only have 1 question I have yet to sort of check off as done. So the idea behind review is you mark questions for review as you're going through here, right? You say, okay, I want to review this one, I want to review this one, or maybe on the priority page you might mark questions for review, and then a couple weeks later or a week later you come to the review page and you say, hey, I marked these for review. I had some notes on them. You review those notes, and once you feel good about that question, you can mark it as done. And then on this page, you'll see how many you have left. So in a couple weeks from now, when you have a few tests in here, you can see how many questions you have left to review, and just keep track of all that in here. Last thing we should talk about is notes. Here you can just adjust the date that you took the test. This is if you enter a test a couple days after you took it. You can go back and mark it, predate it. The other thing is you can write notes about the test. Felt sick. That way, if your score is a little bit lower, that might explain why. Oh, I was sick. You can also delete a test if you mess it up and just want to enter it again. You can enter multiple tests. So we have test 62 in here, but we can, if we take it again later, we can add it again. Maybe you would note that, hey, this is the second time I took the test, second attempt, something like that. And so when you see it on here, you can be aware, oh yeah, that was this test that had that, whatever. Okay, averages, we don't really have anything we can do here yet because we only have one test in the system. If we had two tests, let's say I took test 63 and I got them all right, it was just an amazing day. Just going fast here, obviously. Let's see what happens. Oh, didn't even give it time to calculate the score. Let's go ahead and make this in the future. So let's say I took that tomorrow. Okay, so amazing progress. What you can do is you can come in here to averages and select these two tests, and it will average your results. It'll say, oh, your average official score is 172, your average adjusted score is 171, your average wrong for games is 3, reading, so on, right? So over time, you want to take a look at your averages, especially for your more recent tests that you've been taking, and that is a better predictor of what score you're going to get on the official test than necessarily your best score or your worst score or whatever. And I'd probably focus on this number. It seems like this is the most likely score. Maybe this, somewhere kind of between here and here. There you go. And then this just gives you the averages for the different sections. So a lot of information in here. I hope it's not too overwhelming. Hopefully you see something like this, and then something like this, and then you'll be in the newspaper and we'll all be happy for you. So that's that. The main thing here is, don't forget, let me delete this test. The main thing here is when you come in and review stuff, if you see a blue link, just click on that and watch the video, especially for the games. Do them again on your own, see if you can do them faster, and mark them for review so you can come back and do them again later and not forget which questions you want to review. That's it.